How's it going, folks? Nick here with the Otto Permaculture blog. Otto the garden cat, just behind me, drinking out of a mason jar again. So we have a couple days of rain coming. We're expecting about 2 to 4 inches of rain is what they're calling for. So that's, I think it's about 50 to 100 mil if you're in the metric system areas. So quite a bit of rain on its way in the next couple of days is what expected. Here's Otto. Here's Otto, good boy. Otto actually, he actually had an issue this past week. We had to actually take him to the vet, get an x-ray and everything. He was limping. He wasn't able to really move his tail at all. So we've had quite a stressful week when it comes to Otto, but he is just fine and he's out here with me today. So he's recovering well and he's starting to be a little bit more normal now. So I'm really excited. So today I'm basically just going to do a little bit of prep for the rain that's coming. I need to cut some grass and use that as mulch, as well as check out the chicken area, make sure they're all covered up for the storm, just to make sure that there's not any kind of water damage or erosion or anything like that that'll happen for us while we have all this rain coming. So let's get started. All right, so for last night, rain, not too much, just over 3.5 mil. It's 0.14-ish inches, so that's not too bad. I'm glad that it wasn't a crazy amount last night, because the more we have before big rains, the more saturated the soil gets, and then it just gets a little bit iffy. So I'm glad we didn't have too much last night. All right, so I'm just gonna go check in with the chickens. Let's check on them, see if they need anything for this upcoming storm. Let's take a look. Well, I don't know if you can see that. See this right here? Right where I'm pointing right now, you can kind of see a little bit of wetness. I think I got the focus there. That's a spider web with a bunch of raindrops on it. Really cool to see that kind of stuff, I think. There it is. That's a better angle for you. I guess that dark background. Check that out. Super cool. I love seeing those kind of things. Anyway, back to the task at hand. Down here, still lots of mulch from when I added it last week on just before last week's vlog. So happy to see that. Chickens seem to be doing just fine. The twins down there. Doesn't look like I need to add too much. There's a little bit of the slope right down there that I could probably add a little bit to, just to kind of shore it up for the storm, because a lot of water does run right down there. So I will add a little bit in here for them. Other than that, it looks like they do have food, but I'm going to fill that up real quick, and we'll just check on everything else and continue on the way. Since the dengue, which I talked about last week, it's just been hard for me to get really motivated to get out here, honestly. So it's been, I've been kind of neglecting the gardens of late. Not necessarily neglecting, because they're kind of in a state where they can just kind of do their thing, but I haven't been out here, tending them and doing like the excess weeding that is good to do if you're just trying to keep everything happy and growing. But yeah, I haven't really come out here and really spent like a long day or really worked on anything too much back here. So I'm feeling like I'm kind of not failing the garden, right? But I am kind of trying to make sure I'm taking care of myself too. I have been taking quite a lot of time to be working on my microscope skills, because I do want to be able to bring you guys along the ride with me when I start doing more of that soil assessment, etc. So I have been doing lots of tests, just soil tests throughout my property here into the soil, and also a little bit of in the chicken bed here, all the old compost, as well as some compost from up at Hacienda Rosa. So I have been doing quite a bit of that, and that's been taking a lot of the time that I would have spent back here in the garden, just to try to get my chops up. I got to get kind of decent at it, so when I'm actually showing you guys things, I can actually tell you what's going on. There's a lot to learn. There's so many different species of protozoa and amoeba, ciliates. Hopefully you're not seeing too many ciliates. I haven't seen too many, which is nice. That's a good sign. Ciliates basically live in anaerobic conditions. So if you see them in your soil or in your compost samples, it means you've gone on anaerobic, and so it's not quite so good. And especially the nematodes. Nematodes, they're kind of like the higher level predator in the soil food web. There's many different types: bacterial feeding, fungal feeding, predatory, omnivore. There's all these different types. Root feeding. The root feeding ones are the negative ones that you don't really want. I have found one of those so far in my soils, but mostly I've been seeing some bacterial. I did see a cool fungal feeder that I have a video of, actually. So maybe I'll try to leave that real quick right above here. You can see him he's kind of writhing around a little bit. And if you look really carefully, you can see in that video there's like a little bit of like this kind of angled it looks kind of like a triangle, like a tooth at certain points. It's kind of a little bit, it's not right near the mouth or near the front, it's kind of a little bit further down. And what that is actually a second spear in the fungal feeding nematodes. What they do is they use that spear to pierce the fungi, the fungal hyphae in the soil. So they pierce it, and then they're able to eat the contents of that fungal cell, right? So what you're seeing there is a second spear growing. And I actually thought it was a predatory nematode that actually has a tooth, as like a tooth-like object that it enables it to basically chew up or help chew up different types of organisms in the soil food web. So I thought it was that, and posted onto onto like a microscope group that I'm a part of that kind of was part of the course I took, and they basically helped me confirm that it was indeed a fungal feeding nematode, which is really good to see for me, because that means I have enough fungi in the soil that there's actually worth having an upper level predator. So it's really cool for me to see that. It was really fun to check it out. It's so much bigger than a lot of the other nematodes that I've seen in the soil so far. So let's get into the chickens now. These guys are already ready to eat. At least these two. Henry over here. Henry keeps getting out and getting into the gardens, which I'm not so happy about. He keeps on scratching around. I actually have to keep an eye out now. Even if I'm not out here working actively, I have to keep looking out here on a regular basis. So that tends to be the time when I start considering if a chicken keeps getting out, does not seem to respond even when the wings are cut, and is just continuously kind of, cramping your style in the garden, if you will, right? That's a pretty good indication that it's time to cull that animal, because you don't really want a breed stock that's going to be encouraged and like to go out and about into the garden all the time. That being said, of course, we adopted Henry from a couple of our friends who raised him as a pet, right? So it's a little bit harder to cull. Cull basically means, sorry, mosquito. Cull basically means you kill the animal, you take it out of your flock. You basically are removing that animal from your flock. I could basically give it to somebody if they wanted it, but more than likely what they would do is do the same thing and kill the animal, use it for meat or something like that. It's not all on Henry. Like I said, we got Henry from a friend, so I don't really want to do that. So I'm trying to keep that as my last resort. The other thing I can do is really kind of shore up the fencing a little bit so that it's harder for him to get out, or her to get out really, and makes it a little bit less hard. But what happens is Henry still isn't integrated into this flock, which is really sad because it's been a really long time, but not integrated into the flock. So every night he does sleep in the coop now, which is great. Love to see you sleeping in the coop. I often have to put him in the coop. Henry has not quite learned how to go in there all the time, although a couple times Henry has gone in and actually gotten in the coop by himself, but herself, I say himself because it's Henry, but herself, I'm pretty sure it's a hen. Not quite getting in on a regular basis. Sometimes Henry will go in, but not all the time. So I have to come out here and actually put her in. Often I'll find her perching on the laundry line here, or she sits right up here, right at the edge, right in the middle of all the rain and elements and everything. So not quite ideal. So it's kind of a constant battle to get her to just be incorporated into the flock. The flock is just not accepting her. I put her in here all the time with them, and she just gets attacked. She runs away. She freaks out. She doesn't even kind of have that opportunity to really try to integrate. So not ideal. Definitely not an ideal situation. So we're still learning, figuring out what we do. I need to just add some better fencing so that she can't fly. But right now what she does is in the morning she comes out, comes here, and then flies up onto the fence right there and then down. And now she knows how to fly. She flies up onto that fence, and then she walks around up here on this little shade cloth, walks onto the roof here, and then jumps down and gets into the gardens over here. So she already knows how to do all those things, which is somewhat necessary right now because the chickens attack her if she can't get away. So it's just kind of a hard thing. I might need to just add some fencing up here so that it's harder for her to kind of get up and over, and then a little bit higher of a fence near the entrance where she is. That might help a little bit. So we'll see. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is basically just add a little bit of these wood chips I have, wood shavings, right where these guys are now, because that's the area where it's pretty bare. So let's do that next. All right, so you see, they're always interested in these wood shavings for some reason. I think they think it's food. So they're gonna scratch it a little bit. So more than likely by the time the rain comes, they'll actually scratch a decent amount of it downhill. That's why I added more extra uphill. So hopefully they'll keep scratching some more down. So we'll see though, we don't really know. This little shelter up top here that helps give them a little bit of wet protection works really well. In fact, almost too well, because all the stuff beneath it is pretty dry, and that's where my old compost is. So now it's just old dry compost where most of the organisms are probably in some sort of kind of rest period, basically waiting to be born again. They're able to do that. Those small organisms basically form cysts or anything like that, so they can just live there and wait until the conditions are right for them to come out of hiding and reborn themselves, rebirth themselves. I'm not really sure how you say that. So, all right, so that's all for that part, the chickens. It's nice. Step one complete. Well, notice that this garden here, this is the one I added last week, all this these sugarcane leaves to, and you can see really still there, nice thick layer of mulch still. It didn't really change much at all. And that's what I like about kind of high silica mulch, because it's just going to be there and it's going to protect the soil without me having to add too much attention to it at all, which is really nice. There's a cat. What you doing, bud? What you doing? Oh, good boy. He's starting to get playful again, which is a good sign that he's starting to get somewhat back to normal. Really glad to see that. Makes me happy. Yesterday I ordered seeds, finally. I finally got to that point of my to-do list so that we can actually start prepping for the next kind of season of growth. I do actually have quite a decent bit of seeds right now, but there's some certain things I just was completely out of, some things that Katy's been really wanting me to grow for a while and I just haven't gotten around to growing. Dill being one of them. I just for some reason have never been able to find dill seed, so I finally ordered some, and we'll hopefully get that going because she loves dill, and it grows really well here if we actually get it going, or at least so I've seen over at Gino Rossi's. What you doing, bud? He's completely soaked from all this wet dewy grass right here. So this is the grass I was planning on cutting, but while out here and thinking about it, I'm thinking I actually might just leave it because of all the rain coming, instead of really disturbing this, and the ground's already pretty soft, and so if I'm in there trampling it and everything, it's just going to end up compressing the soil more and causing more runoff. So I'm actually going to choose not to do that. So the only areas I really wanted to kind of cover up a little bit were this bed up here. You can see quite a bit of kind of bare soil right here. So this is where I was going to do. And over here, this is the arugula bed. But I can just leave this row cover on and that'll be just fine for the rain. It'll just help keep the big compression off with the raindrops, but still have enough protection so it's not going to be completely soaked and the soil's not going to get too crazy. So really I just need to cover up this area right here, and what I might do is actually get a few more of these sugarcane leaves. You can see we have plenty, and just bring them on over here. Ooh, look at this. It looks like this one might be a female flower, but it's also starting to come out a little bit, and it looks like the other ones are males. So I'm I'm not really sure. These ones are definitely male here. We do have a female right down here that is either about to flower or just finished flowering. Although I'm starting to see some smaller ones there too. So these ones might be also male. So I don't know what it is. I don't know how you can encourage more female papayas. Maybe it's just the males are a little bit more fertile in the seeds. I don't know. I know that papayas are hermaphroditic, so they can have both. They can express both genders sometimes. So yeah, we're just gonna hope and see and hope we get a couple more females in here. Small little bundle down here. I don't need too many. It's a pretty small little garden over there that I wanted to cover up, so I think that will probably be sufficient, but we'll see. Again, I don't grow the sugarcane for the actual canes. I grow it as a windbreak right here, because basically most of our winds are usually coming from this way. And in the event of a big hurricane or storm like that, I just want this to get a little bit of a break before it gets to where the coop is right here. So this is really just a little bit of a windbreak for me. It's not meant to actually be something that I'm harvesting, and so when I come here and I need mulch, it's a perfect plant. It's a mulch plant and a windbreak plant. Stacking functions, that's a really big thing in permaculture. How many functions can you get out of one element in your design? In this case, this is acting as a windbreak. It's acting as a source of mulch. It's acting as a source of trellis material. I saved the canes that are I basically cut off, and I can use those for trellis material. And it's a source of a place to live for a lot of the smaller creatures throughout our site here. So really nice to see. A cat right down there. He's waiting for me to walk by with all those. I'm sure you'll see him chase me as I go this way. What's this? I'm sure you saw him chasing me a little bit when I was doing this, but here it is, very rough. He's very playful when it comes to, he loves these kind of grassy things. Makes him happy to chase something. So yeah, right here, you can just see it's a nice light covering. It's not like a super deep mulch. I could add more, but in the near future, I'm likely going to be kind of turning this bed over, so I'm not trying to add a huge amount of material that I have to remove and then replace, etc. So I'm just kind of trying to work between all the tiny little baby arugulas that are kind of starting to come up and actually start looking like they actually might produce for us finally. These guys I put in quite some time ago. Let's see if Otto will let me have this one more piece so I can add it in here. And yeah, so it's just a nice little covering, a nice little blanket to basically help keep the raindrops from really compacting the soil. Raindrops can actually really compact soil. That small little drop hitting it over and over again, it really can actually compact the lower layers of the soil, not just that top layer. So this is basically just adding a little bit of a barrier for the rain to hit first, and then it'll percolate down into the soil, and that just makes it a little bit better on the soil itself. So that bed's mulched, this bed's plenty mulched. These beds just have so much growing that it's basically a mulch itself. It's a living mulch, and that's perfectly fine too. This grass I was going to cut to use as mulch, that's going to act as my mulch for this whole little storm. I could cut it down to allow a little bit more flow, but I don't mind a little bit more of a protective area there. Some extra long growth, I don't mind that too much. The area where water will flow basically is along this path here, down, and then once it gets down to this point down here, it'll start moving down into the lower area where the pasture is. And all that is short enough that water will be able to flow just fine. And then I think it was last week that I cut all this grass, so it's had a week to recover. I actually need to come through here and kind of decompact this whole area where we walk back and forth for the laundry line. So basically I'll probably take my garden fork. If I had a broad fork, I would use that, but just take the garden fork, push it down, lift up the soil a little bit. I'm not trying to turn the soil at all. I'm just trying to lift it and add some holes in there so the water will infiltrate a little bit better. And then lifting it a little bit will basically decompact those lower layers and let us have a little bit more flow down there. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This is what happens with Henry. Henry comes up onto here and decides that, oh, I'm just going to keep exploring, and then he jumps up there and then comes down here, and you can see this little divot in the gravel right here. I don't know if you can really see that from your angle, but that's Henry scratching and causing that to get a little bit low. So I have to constantly come in here and encourage Henry not to go. Henry, you can see was raised by humans, very passive, perfectly fine with being pet and grabbed, although at times he doesn't love it. Come on. He'll just walk right on up to your arm as if he's like a bird that you keep in a house. So there's Henry for you. This is for Megan and Rob. Nice close-up of Henry growing up. Yeah. Let's bring you back over here, bud. You stay down there. Well, here's Mama. She must have just laid an egg, or was thinking about laying an egg before she heard all the commotion. They're very particular about when they want their nice quiet time. They want no one in the way. Let's see. Oh, we do have 2 eggs down here. That's nice. That'll probably be breakfast tomorrow. It's really nice having chickens because I eat eggs on a regular basis, pretty much daily, and having my own farm fresh eggs, that's really nice. I really enjoy that, being able to walk out here, harvest some eggs. Hopefully the little ones, the twins, will start laying soon so that we can have 4 eggs a day-ish. And that'll be a little bit better because that means I can have 2 and Katy can have 2 a day, and we'd have plenty and have basically excess, you know. That's what we're looking for. All right, folks, that's it for me today. This is basically a quick little rundown of how I'm prepping for some more excess rain, and also a little bit of a discussion of the soil food web and my microscope stuff. So that's what we covered today. Hope you enjoyed. If you do like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel or share these videos with friends or with like-minded communities that might find some value in it. That really helps me get the word out there. I think we've gained another 10 or 15 subscribers since last week. And again, I'm only producing weekly videos right now, just because I got a lot going on in my life, and this is where I can fit it in. So I'm trying to do these. So far, it's been Thursdays. Thursdays has been my day that I've been doing it, because that gives me the first few days of the week to kind of get ahead on my online work, so that I have a little bit of extra time towards the end of the week to really produce these videos. And it also gives me some time usually to come out here and do some work in the backyard throughout the week, so that I can show you some progress shots. But this week, not so much. You know, last week I said I need to do some compost, but have yet to do that. But the horse is in the field over there, so I should be able to harvest some horse manure somewhat soon. And one more update on my consultancy. There hasn't been much going on because I was sick and everything, and you know how life gets. And but I will be going over to some land that they're leasing right now to give them a little bit of consult on their chicken system, and I think we're going to probably be building a compost pile there. So I think I might, with permission from them, I might take you guys along the road and film part of that for you guys and show you that. So hopefully I'll be able to do that, and I'll keep you updated on that, and we'll see where it goes. So yeah, till next time. Have a good one.